Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call, I think I may have just given everyone my agenda. Thank you. There are plenty more in the back, so I just make copies. So anyway, I'll call this June meeting of the Hopewell Borough Council to order. Reggie, if you could, and welcome back. Do the sunshine notice.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a notice mailed to the Hopewell Valley News and the Trenton Times, posted on the bulletin board in Borough Hall, and filed with the Borough Clerk as required by law.
If you are able to join me in rising for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Kennedy,
Here.
Mr. Buda,
Here.
Mr. Foley is excused, Ms. Hook,
Here.
Ms. Sealer,
Here.
Ms. Weaver,
Here.
Ms. Valenius is excused.
Thank you. We have, our first item of business actually is we have many proclamations to do tonight and lots of worthy causes. The first one, though, we have several representatives from our state advocacy group for Tourette syndrome, and I'd like to invite them to the lectern to say a few words, and we will have them join us as we do their proclamation. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Yep. Over yours. Thank you so much. And just so you know, and for everyone who's speaking tonight, there was a smaller crowd and we didn't have the right batteries, so that microphone doesn't actually do anything, so just speak normally.
Thank you very much, Mayor Kennedy, for letting us be here today. Thank you for recognizing Tourette Syndrome Awareness Day in New Jersey, which is actually today, June 4th. On behalf of NJCTS and the thousands of children, adults, and families affected by Tourette Syndrome, we are deeply grateful for your support. The proclamation may seem like a simple gesture, but it sends a powerful message to the families and the individuals that we serve, that they are seen, valued, and understood. And it helps replace misconceptions with awareness and stigma with acceptance. Tourette syndrome affects people in every community, even in Hopewell, and we are excited to be here. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. Our organization is located in Somerville, but we're a statewide agency of helping families with Tourette syndrome, and Alina is a resident of Hopewell, and I'm glad to be here with her tonight.
Right. Thank you so much. So we do have a proclamation in honor of this day. If you'd like to come up and would like to take a photo, happy to present it to you. So when you come up to the front here and kind of come behind the dais so everyone can kind of join around. There's no magic back here, I'll say that. So when you come on the front, and we do have some people from the press here, so I'm sure they'll get a photo if we talk slowly and ask.
The mayor hinted enough time. All right. They're over here on 3, 1, 2, 3.
That's a Christmas card.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Andrew said, thank you. Thank you so much for all you do for our extended community, and it is our honor to recognize the work that you do here today. So on behalf of Hopewell Borough, here's a
Thank you.
official copy. Thank you.
Very much. Thanks so much. Did you know that?
But thanks. Well,
Sorry.
finish up our meeting, but thank you. We have a couple other, I don't know if we have any representatives, and if we do have some file in later, we're happy to do some photos, but we also have several other proclamations. This Saturday, we will be recognizing, all 3 municipalities will be recognizing our first responders and the amazing work that they've done to a proclamation honoring our EMS and fire honorees for this Saturday. Coming up is the 100th anniversary of Hopewell Elementary School. And next week, our Shade Tree Commission and representatives from the school will be planting a tree in front of Hopewell Elementary in honor of its 100th birthday. Also, many of us you'll see are wearing orange this evening. We have a proclamation in recognition of Gun Violence Awareness Day and the work of Moms Demand Action in every town for gun safety. Finally, I want to thank any of those of you who were here earlier for our flag raising ceremony, but June is Pride Month, and we have a proclamation recognizing June as Pride Month as well. So to everyone who worked on those or involved in those organizations, thank you so much for participating. Our next item, we had for council in our packets, reports from our DPW and water and sewer departments. If anyone has any questions or comments for the administrator, now would be the time on that. All right.
I just wanted to make a comment that I believe that DPW is very short-handed right now, right? There's only. I just want people to have
Be
patience.
patient, yeah, so right now we've got one employee out with an injury and another one out that will be out on sick leave for a little bit, so just be patient with things like bags getting picked up, and thank you for bringing that. Yeah.
Thank you. Next, as we do at all our meetings, but at some point in the future, we will be stopping this. An update on the sale of our water system. Likely this weekend, we will have an email packet out and post on the website. Some transition information about the upcoming turnover. It is still waiting for one final Board of Public Utilities approval. But it's likely that could happen this month, and that we may be able to send out final Hopewell Borough bills this June and a welcome packet. So a kind of sample of that welcome packet is going to go out likely this weekend with a website link for information on what the new bills will look like and the transition, particularly important. And we want to help get the word out for anyone with who is eligible or we think could use payment assistance. There are significant avenues for needy residents to receive assistance through various programs that can be registered for. And so we'll get information out on that as well. We're next just going to do our, because it's a little short tonight and often it ends up answering a lot of questions that some residents have. So we're going to go into our liaison reports and then public comment. So Paul, usually surprising Anthony with this, and I'm going to perhaps surprise you with the book. Would you like to do your report first?
So I did meet senior advisory committee over in Pennington. It's a monthly meeting, and we talked about things from cooking classes to ride provide for getting seniors back and forth to doctor's appointments and that sort of thing. Also updates on the visitor center, which is the Washington Crossing Visitor Center, where seniors are very excited about that because of the programs that will be there. And I think it's July 4th now that they're going to be ready. Right? Does anybody know that?
It's built?
This is the visitors center at Washington Crossing.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that was seniors.
So yeah, and that's been delayed a couple of times, but what else? Yeah, there's nothing else with that. Regarding the undertaking of the big project for me that I'm going to undertake is this rewriting of zoning ordinances that need help or love. And it's a big undertaking. I am doing research and looking at other towns and how they handle certain things, and big focus is the accessory dwelling unit and how to get that done. What I've uncovered so far as I'm looking at it is something that I would like to push forward. I talked about this with the mayor, is that perhaps corner units get a different reading of what an accessory dwelling unit is compared to houses that are in the middle of a block. Basically, the feeling of accessory dwelling units is that you take an old garage and you make it very low key, and it doesn't look like another house is there, right? So that's why they're usually smaller in size. However, on corner properties, you have two fronts, two street fronts. So maybe there's a different reading of how that works. And also that gets, that can help us in terms of how we handle more affordable units for young people and elderly people. And another way of dealing with how to grow a town, but doing it in a smaller way. So, and I'd like to organize some type of meeting with the town on that, separate from this, just to kind of talk about what that could be. And then just fixing other parts of the zoning code, like I've mentioned before, like setbacks, you have this blanket 40-foot, usually I want to change that to make it be a good neighbor. So it's not a magic number, but it's a real number per block. So it's a big undertaking we're gonna get our attorneys involved. We want to keep costs down because no offense, but they cost money. So I want to do more of it from a commonsensical perspective. I am an architect, so I've been looking at zoning codes for too long. And it's a great opportunity to fix them. So, that's that.
Well, thank you for working on that, and while it costs money to do that work, it also costs residents and businesses money to get variances and approvals that maybe
Correct.
aren't necessary, so I appreciate you looking into that and to try to simplify.
Yeah, that's an important thing, that to make it user friendly, you shouldn't be asking for a variance to do something that's good for not only you, but for your neighbors. That's the goal here. Thanks.
Sure, you got it?
The EDC member Sune and I met with Jerry to talk about formalizing of road construction procedures for the business district. It seems like it should be really easy, but as you'll hear about road paving, it is not always as easy as it seems like it should be, because we're at the whims of the road pavers and their subcontractor. So, but we're trying to make it so that as best we can notify businesses when things are coming their way, and road closures and having signs up saying businesses are open. But it's harder than I thought was gonna be. So thank you, Jerry, for your help with that. Work continues on Broad Street lamppost banners. So like if you go through Lawrenceville, how it'll say shop and dine in Lawrenceville. So that will hopefully be coming soon. We're just working out some designs. Fire department, I know Brian mentioned this, they're having their first responder awards this Saturday at 11. Am I stealing your announcement?
Have at it.
It's township wide, but each borough, along with the township, recognizes some first responders. And so on Saturday at 11, Bill Butler from Emergency Medical Unit and the whole junior member program for the fire department will be recognized. I see Steve back there. Hopefully he'll be there, but it's really very moving, because you hear stories about these first responders and what they've done to receive these awards. And we're just lucky to have such a robust volunteer program here in town. Shade Tree Committee, as the mayor mentioned, we're planting a red oak, I think, yes, a red oak, Wednesday, the 10th at Hopewell Elementary at 9 a.m. So it'll be, hopefully there for the next 100 years.
Yeah.
And Jerry's gonna tell you a little bit about the Green Communities grant that he secured for us, which is very exciting. So now we have money to pay for our tree inventory, and that will help us update our forestry plan that has been woefully unupdated.
Thank you. Yeah, we got next.
Sure, hi, so, the Recreation Committee is, hard at work, partnering with Sherry to do the, 250th, Declaration of Independence Party this Saturday. At this point, we have about 650 people coming, so it should be a very exciting event. We have all kinds of reenactors, history, displays, music, food, all that good stuff. The food tickets are sold out because we have to know how much food to order. And of course, you have to do it in advance, but all the events during the day from 4 to 10 are free. And we're encouraging people to show up with a picnic blanket and your own picnic dinner and join the fun. There are still tickets for the beer garden available, and then the music and the history will be there all day. So please join us. It's going to be a great day. Weather looks good. June 10th, the library is partnering with me on doing an e-bike, and Krista has some part in that too, to talk about all the new laws that are going into effect on July 26th. Basically, everybody has to register the bikes. There are no more different categories of e-bikes. So there's all kinds of insurance, registration, licensing things that affect everybody from 15, which is now the minimum age to ride an e-bike, all the way up to elderly people. So a lot to learn, and I'm trying to show up if you have any interest in your kids or yourself owning an e-bike, 7 o'clock at the Presbyterian Church this June 10th. June 13th, the library is having their famous bake and book sale as part of the, town-wide yard sale day. That's always a fun day where everybody rides around. They have great baked goods planned, so, please come and support the library. There's also gonna be a band that the Recreation Committee hired to, perform at Nomad Pizza that day. And just some other events coming up with the rec committee. We've got, the 29th of June, we have the Wallenberg Band's first concert. The library summer reading program is kicking off on June 18th. I'm going backwards now. And Quoits and Horseshoes has started. We repaired and refilled all the Quoits and Horseshoes frames in the park. So there's fresh sand, fresh frames, and it's every Wednesday through the end of August. And Eric Hendrickson does a great job making it a fun night. So check it out, something different to do if you've never done it before, and that's it. Thank you.
Kristen?
Sure. So some of you may have noticed that we now have a leading pedestrian interval at Broad and Greenwood Avenue. This is a 7-second delay where all vehicle traffic is stopped and pedestrians have the right of way. The point of this is to increase visibility for crossing pedestrians, reduce conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles, increase the likelihood of motorists yielding to pedestrians, and enhance safety for pedestrians who may be slower to start into the intersection. So if you press the walk button, this will be actuated and you get that 7 seconds with all vehicle traffic being stopped. And this is important for this particular intersection because if you look back over the past 10 years, all of the crashes that have occurred there with either cyclists or pedestrians where vehicles making a left-hand turn from Greenwood onto Broad Street. So that's a very vulnerable space to be in. And this allows the pedestrians to get into the intersection and maybe even get almost across it before vehicle traffic starts moving. So I want to thank Mercer County Planning Department, Engineering, and DOT for making that happen. And if you've noticed some other signal changes leading up to this, that was part of trying to get to where we are now, which is obviously a much safer option than we had before. So thank you to Mercer County for that. Speaking of Mercer County, they are now moving closer to finalizing their Vision Zero plan, which is very exciting. And we are talking about coordinating with the municipalities to have similar policies in place and help out the smaller municipalities that may have less resources than others to enact a more robust Vision Zero policy, but also our Complete Streets policy, which really should be upgraded to a complete and green streets policy. So looking forward to working with our partners at Mercer County and the state DOT on that. And that's all.
Thank you. A couple for me and a few notes, if I can find them, from Councilman Wallenius after I go through mine. Sherry mentioned the first responder awards this Saturday. Also want to thank our fire department and our friends at Hopewell Township for all the work that went to Memorial Day ceremonies this past couple of weekends. I know our parade was unfortunately rained out, but just want to thank Hopewell Fire Department for organizing it. Nonetheless, it was a tough call. But ultimately the weather was not there, and look forward to that tradition returning next year. Also want to thank the Hopewell Valley Veterans Association for their annual Memorial Day ceremony at Wilson Park. Councilman Buda and I attended that on the Saturday Memorial Day weekend. I always appreciate their efforts to recognize those, the reason for our Memorial Day weekend. I want to congratulate, not personally, but we have a project here in town where we do that. All of the upcoming Hopewell Valley graduates from Hopewell Borough. There's a significant senior class this year, and want to congratulate all of them individually for their achievements. On our bill list tonight, there is a contribution, I believe, towards the watershed-led regional stormwater project. Several meetings on that this past month that I attended. Essentially, the watershed and Montgomery Township have organized a consortium, including us, to bring in an outside consultant for a stormwater project for our entire sub-watershed region. Interestingly, to me, as a land use attorney, we're in a slightly different sub-watershed than Hopewell Township largely is in Pennington, so there's actually a separate group doing that also through the watershed, but ours is Montgomery led. I think we're paying our small piece of that. And it's a nice story where ultimately it costs us less to join with the neighbors to do that. I think we'll get a better product than we could get by paying our consultant to look at just our area and have a more regional approach. Hopewell Valley Municipal Alliance met on the 27th, with a very interesting presentation, on the human trafficking element of the upcoming World Cup and to raise awareness, for that. That group does take, sounds nice to me, takes a break for the summer. So I think the next meeting won't be until September for the Municipal Alliance. Had a nice turnout though at Pennington Day, for the YMCA and Municipal Alliance 5K. That is one of their events as well. We'll hear later tonight a little bit more, but lots of meetings with our engineering team about the Columbia Avenue stop sign project, as well as dark sky issues at our DPW project, and with the dark skies team, I'll just call it, on working on one of the biggest problems we have is our streetlights, and that is not a Hopewell Borough problem. That is a PSC&G. They have certain types of lights, and there are ones that many communities like ours would rather them use, and we're actively working with them and our neighbors, I'll say, and PSC&G on trying to find a solution where we can maybe get a different type of light fixtures that are, let's say, warmer and closer to the dark sky compliant lights that we would like to see in our community. Reminder that it's pretty rare, and also usually only happens when Mayor Martin in Hamilton is too busy to do weddings, but did actually do one this month. It was really nice to help someone in the community with that. The buildings community met with the Friends of Hopewell Valley Open Space. They received a grant that they're going to allocate for $25,000, actually from New Jersey American Water, to do some restoration projects at Hopewell Borough Park. I'm excited to see that move forward. My mayor's hours will be next Wednesday and also next Saturday. So the 13th this month is Saturday. It's 9 o'clock with coffee that I still buy and no one drinks, even the people who don't mind.
Have you considered getting better coffee?
I don't think that's, honestly, I've consciously reduced the quality of coffee to avoid waste. To be totally honest, there's good coffee in town that would
You
be.
get some bad coffee.
That's what he's saying.
I want to thank everyone who came out to the first of our capital priorities kind of community meeting. We have a lot to do on next steps there, including I think the two most immediate steps that you'll be hearing about soon are going to be a community presentation. We've connected with a nonprofit that works on what's called community budgeting. Those are processes where a closer to full democratic process can be in place for actually allocating funds and spending. So possibly at our July meeting, but the date to be determined, we'll have a presentation likely from a future partner, and we are looking at and working on engaging a consultant to help us with the process. It is to get the kind of engagement that we're looking for, and I think that our community expects, and it's one of the things we definitely heard. It takes resources, so we're looking at what those could be to do that. But I really want to thank the people who came out for the first couple for that first meeting, which was really a nice kind of brainstorming session. And I will say, it turns out as is not unexpected, we do have some lots of great talent in our community, and one who has actually engaged in the past in community budgeting processes and connected us with the experts on that, which was fantastic. I want to put a special thanks to our Department of Public Works. Council has a treat for them this week. Recently was DPW appreciation. I was going to say awareness. Appreciation. And that lined up literally with a series of terrible storms we had 2 weeks where they came out after hours very quickly, took trees down. We had our team meeting. If you're going to test dark sky lights, you have to do it when it's dark. So we had DPT members out past 9 o'clock trying different light fixtures with our engineers and representatives from the dark sky group to see what made sense or what we can do for our DPW. To really appreciate everyone's work on that. As I mentioned, we will have likely this weekend an email and update on our website on the upcoming best we can tell transition of our water system. Again, what to expect, when to expect to build, what the bills will look like. New Jersey American will also be here on Saturday with a table again. One of our big focuses is if there's anyone you can think of in our community who is in need of payment assistance. There are now going to be resources available that we did not have before, and we want to make sure everyone can find out and know what those resources are. I really want to thank, I'm looking for Councilwoman Millennius's notes. Councilwoman Weaver, for those of you who joined us earlier this evening for our pride flag raising, I want to thank Krista in particular for organizing it down to actually buying the flag. So we had it out of our DPW and remembering how we actually work a flagpole. It's been a while since that's been used. Our administrators, well, and everyone who attended very much.
Yeah, we owe Alan a special thank you though, because he was able to make sure that the flag could actually be raised today.
It's
He
a
worked on
series
it
of
this morning for us.
grommets, carabiners, and the most interesting looking wrench I have seen that allows that to be hoisted. So special thanks to Alan as well. A couple quick updates. Councilwoman Williams couldn't be here this evening. Our green team is coordinating with our administrator to secure the property owner permission needed to put in the new next stretch bench that came out of the plastic film or plastic recycling project. So great job to the green team on and everyone in our community who's recycled all the plastic. That'll be used near for the farmers market, be in that kind of that area. The green team will be at the farmers market on the second Sunday of every month with information, particularly on recycling events. It's a great way to find out when things that can't go in your yellow bucket can be recycled. They're free resources. Their next meeting is Tuesday the 9th next week, and they're meeting with the Gazebo Park Weather Committee. Otherwise, they will meet at the library. All are welcome. There's going to be information going out that they put together on the yard sale weekend. Please remember not to let your usable items go to the landfill. It's a great opportunity for reuse and recycling. So the earlier, like me, you can decide that no one's going to buy your stuff, but someone may very well be able to use it, perhaps market free. Probably with plastic, if it's going to rain, particularly so it wouldn't be ruined, it could still be used perhaps as well. There's no updates from open space, and I believe that is it. So before we go to our first public comment opportunity, Jerry, anything you want to highlight from your administrator report?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just touch on a few brief items. As always, our report contains a list of everything, but not everything, of things we've been working on throughout the month. A couple items I'll touch on. First is the IT transition as it relates to our emails. We are transitioning, and we are in the process of transitioning to our current host to the Microsoft Government Cloud 365. That's been designed specifically for governments, and it's consistent with all the new regulatory rules that are going to be coming in place in the next 2 or 3 years. So, as you all know, some of you have had some interruptions over the last, couple of days with your emails. And I expect this Sunday around 10 a.m., your email is going to go dark for a couple hours. So you're welcome. So most emails that are sent in that time should just sit in queue and come back when the email's up and running later in the evening. IT will be on site here Monday to help first all of us in the staff reset our computers. And then, of course, as always, if you're available on Monday and you want it, your email should kick back on normally, but in the event it doesn't, Josh will be here dealing with that all day Monday. So that process is moving forward, and the email aspect of that should be complete Sunday night. When that is complete, our next step will be to transition to the Hopewell Borough NJ.gov URL in the next week or two, as opposed to the current .us stuff that we've had for quite some time. So we're excited about that. As it relates to paving, we talked last week, we were expecting paving to be done in May by Elizabethtown Gas. That's been postponed. I don't have an exact date on that yet. When I do, I'll make sure you all know, and we'll do adequate notice to the community. It is going to be a disruption. There's going to be a lot of paving, but that's just the nature of the business. But we'll get some new roads out of that. So then when all said and done, things will look nice. Had a meeting this month with our representatives from Safe Routes to Schools to talk about that grant. We got awarded that grant, I guess, about a year or so ago. That's still gonna be a 2-year process. You're not gonna see you're not gonna see any construction for at least 18 months at this point in good specs. Dealing with the federal government, dealing with the state. It's actually been pleasant to work with them. We got a good team, but we are moving forward with that. I sent a series of documents in, and we're just waiting on a contract from the state DOT. So then we can formulate a contract with the consultant that we selected at some point last year. Councilwoman Hook mentioned a grant that we just got notified we received a couple days ago. That's the Green Communities Grant. That's going to allow us to complete a forestry management plan along with the tree inventory. It's been quite some time since we've done that. I was talking to one of their staff members, and we expect that to be all completely finalized on the state's end within the next 2 weeks. The consultant marked out sometime early September when he would start, his firm would start doing the tree inventory. So based on his knowledge and based on the state, we think September is going to be a good time to start. So that'll be a few month process. So we're pretty excited about that. I know they've been eager to really move forward since we submitted that application about 3 months ago. That does reference the newly added resolution of 2026-65 that's on the agenda tonight. It's authorizing my execution of that grant. You did pass a resolution similar to that when we did the application, but this, along with the DOT grant for Model Avenue, the state is very particular about the exact words and punctuation on the grant that they send over. There's no modification at all allowed, so we have to redo that, but no harm, no foul. It's not going to go, it's not delaying anything in a sense. Councilwoman Weaver touched on the LPI and everything else in that report. Last let's talk about DPW. We've had, as you know, you've been involved in them. Some of you are in the governing body, several meetings over the last couple of weeks with our architect, with our engineer. Attorney's been reviewing specs, and we hope to be out to bid within the next 2 or 3 weeks or so on that project.
Thank you. Jerry, one thing I forgot, and maybe this is the item that you just mentioned, but the street paving grant, is that the $60,000+ that we were just awarded, or is that a bit of different thing?
Oh, no, I forgot to mention that. The $60,000 was a second phase of the local recreation grant that we got. It's not allocated for anything specifically other than the borough park at this point. No details on that until we get into the capital planning.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you for keeping the funds flowing, as they said. Any questions for Jerry?
Nope.
All right. With that, we will open up the floor to the public for a first of several public comment opportunities. If Mayor and Council take comments first from members of the public attending in person, then from members of the public attending via Zoom. Speakers for this first time will be limited to 5 minutes. No immediate action will be taken on any public comment issue. To make a comment or ask a question during the meeting via Zoom, you push the raised hand button, and after we're done with the in person, we will recognize you and call you over. Also note, we will have a public hearing on ordinance 915, which is the four-way stop on Columbia. I will say, as we noted on the agenda, if you have a comment on that, it would be best to do it during that period. I'll also note that we'll do an update there, but as well, we're expecting more information from our engineers and a kind of test study that they are doing alongside the fire department. So I will be asking for motion to carry that public hearing, so the public hearing tonight, and then also at least in the July meeting as well. With that, in person, coming up to the front, I will remind or note that just we don't I couldn't find the batteries, so speak loud. It's not a
Not
a microphone.
Art wants to say a few words to start, right? No?
Art, you want to go first? Or you want to wait till then?
I think you.
Well, Mr. Mayor, there seems to be some concern about comments involving the Hopewell 57 project, which is up for, my understanding, a vote at the Wednesday, June 10th planning board meeting. I've had extensive discussions with the planning board attorney. We've had some legal research done on it, and I'd like to make a brief statement that the planning board acts by law as an independent quasi-judicial body. As such, council members cannot comment on or discuss any aspect of the application including any discussion of the passage of ordinances numbers 887 and 891, which are associated with the Hopewell 57 redevelopment project. Time for public discussion of those two ordinances has long since passed when the public hearings were conducted by this council. Any such discussions here tonight involving any aspect of the pending application will be outside the legal public hearing of the planning board. This doesn't mean you cannot come up and have your 5 minutes and speak to anything you want with regard to the Hopewell 57 project. But I'm respectfully asking that no members of council or the mayor comment or get into any discussion of it. And that is both my opinion and the opinion of the planning board attorney. And that, as I say, we're not limiting anybody's speech. You can come up and say whatever you want during the public sessions, but there will not be an interaction with regard to the application pending. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
My name is Melissa Cookman, and this just changes everything I want to talk about. But let me start with some other things. I'm excited to hear that we're having banners. One of the earlier meetings, I mentioned something about the town looking shabby, sort of all the wires hanging and just random pots of flowers put out. And I want to ask why we can't get rid of the solar panels. They don't do anything. One of them is now bent and hanging. They're caught in trees. They have wires hanging. We're gonna have these beautiful, I assume, banners. And there's just gonna be junk all around them. And I think that in order to continue to make our town look good, it really has to be addressed.
I'll just make a quick note on the panels. Those are part of the PSC&G program. I wish we had a say in that. We are engaging them on another related
Just say
topic.
they have to take them down?
I wish we could, and I don't know if you got an opinion on that, but the short answer was, they, no, and I mean, honestly, the one in front of my house is literally, there's a street light above it, it's like some kind of infinite loop attempt. But they, as it turns out, get to have a lot of discretion, unlimited almost, in what they put on their poles, which is what we found out in asking how we can get different light fixtures. So we're having that conversation now. And I'm, you know, well, I got them and they're saying no, I'll bring it up, but unfortunately, I think it's not gonna be great news on the solar panels if you're.
We can understand. I have a question about the block party or whatever this event is on Saturday. Is it the town that is sponsoring? Is this a town event?
Yes,
Is it sponsored by the town?
Yes,
The
it's
town is
all-
sponsoring the bar?
It's the Hopewell
The town-
Recreation Committee.
The town is sponsoring the bar?
Oh, the bar? No.
Well,
The block party, it's a collaboration between the Hopewell Recreation Committee and the Hopewell Block Party. The Hopewell Block Party is a nonprofit, 501c3.
so that's the liquor?
So we're able to get what's called a social affair permit.
Right, I understand that.
Yeah, that.
It just appears, because that isn't stated anywhere, and I find that bothersome.
You find it what?
Bob,
What about
bothers-
it? What
I find-
about it? I'm sorry.
that it's not clear whose event this is. The block party, the part that isn't from the town, how is it connected? And where does the money go that it's raised from the liquor part, which doesn't have anything to do with the town, and the money from the,
So the town is paying for what they usually pay for events that have music, so it's the band and the tents.
but the block party also always has music and tents.
That's
And
true.
the town pays for that?
No, but this recreation committee budget that we get pays for the concerts in the gazebo. It pays for the bands that play at Nomad during the yard cleanup on next week on the 13th. So they're paying for that part. And then local residents and businesses have been engaged to pay for the rest of it. And what we're trying to do is host a community event. We're feeding 650 people, just to bring everybody together to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Same as what happened in 1776. If you're 1976, I don't know if you remember when they did that big celebration. We were old
So,
enough to remember
yeah,
that.
just to maybe just to piggyback that on a little bit, maybe just to clarify, so that the borough, the rec committee has made some limited contributions for
Correct.
things similar to what
We
they
always,
do in other events.
right.
And if there is some type of surplus from the other part of the event? Is it the understanding that there wouldn't be one and that the borough's contribution would just be reduced?
Right.
There wouldn't be any,
Correct.
the plan is not to be any
Right.
leftovers. If there is, the borough will just contribute less.
Okay, I'm just confused because the block party used to give money away,
Right.
but it's not doing that with the liquor.
Well, first we have to see if there is a surplus, you know, these parties are quite expensive. So we have to pay for the beer afterwards, we have to pay for the food and all that, so we
Okay, but
will,
those are two separate things, the food and the alcohol. You
right,
do-
but they all come out from the money that we've raised from sponsors, so.
Okay, I really don't understand that. You're mixing them together, but they're separate, right? You're saying that you're gonna put all, whatever money all comes together, the nonprofit's money and the town's money.
No,
whatever.
the town is paying for the towns of what they're.
Right,
paying
I'm
for.
saying if there's excess money.
We will give it back to the town. But we have to see if there's extra money first.
And I
Until-
think it just covered, when you say give it back, it's not as if the town's just giving money. The
Right.
town is
Right,
purchasing directly
Correct.
from a vendor,
Correct.
some small components of this event.
Correct.
If it turns out in this event, which I believe it's $250 for dinner, so I don't know if there will be the same
I
kind
was
of
just looking at the
surplus.
separation of the two things.
Yeah, but
Okay.
the borough's role is to, and you're not, I'll say you're not done, not in like in a, you're not, but like that beat didn't count, yeah, quite yet, but the borough's contribution is specific to several vendors. I don't know if it's the tent and the band, for example.
Correct.
But if there is surplus, the agreement is that there won't be one in the.
Right, okay, thank you. What is it, the LPD, the 7-second delay, I think it's brilliant. And I would ask that if you can find a way, I think it should be also at Princeton Avenue.
Yes.
And especially because when you cross toward the shopping center and then they're turning on you. So I just think if that's possible to work
It's,
on that.
I
would-
mean, I think it would be, like, this was, you know, the county's initiative, they put it in here, so I think hopefully we'll be able to get it at the other intersections as
Great.
well.
That would be awesome.
And also hopefully that the physical equipment allows it. There's like different type of, even though it doesn't seem like a big change,
I
it's a
know.
huge deal. But it's not a big change to see what the button does, but there has to be certain stuff there.
I know, there's
for it to
full
be
flashing lights are still going on all the time, they can't figure it out. My other question is, Seminary and Broad Street, you know, was completely destroyed there from the building of the bistro and all that, and are there impact taxes or impact fees that they builder pays, or will they pay for the repair of that?
I don't know if I can answer specifically, but there are, for construction projects, bonds and surety posted in the regular course. This is just a guess, but, and normally that's what happened. Yes, it'd be the responsibility of repair.
Okay, I'm concerned about the continuing planning board cancellations. There are people who have things they want to bring before the planning board, and the planning board cancels, and then they're set back a month, and I understand that usually they meet when there's like, they have a site plan or whatever to look at, but there's still people that have questions and needs, and
I understand. I mean, one, we don't set that. It's, you know, the board chair and staff does. But
and they
again, I
can
think
just
what
cancel. Yeah.
well, first off, I think this month wasn't really, technically, from a legal perspective, it was canceled and another meeting scheduled.
Except that that's a
Special
very
meeting.
specific meeting, that's just about 57. You can't go into the meeting on the 10th and talk about other things.
I'll
Well, I
let
guess
Art
you
talk
could,
about the
but-
open public meetings act. I think you can, but ultimately, the board meets when there is business. And I know we've talked several times about, you know, the desire to.
They don't know when there's business.
What's that?
Sometimes they don't know there's business. That people
Well,
want to come forward.
the planning board has a very specific statutory job, and it is to respond to applications and a few other specific things. And ultimately, yes, anyone can ask any other kind of questions or make comments to them, but they don't really have much of statutorily a role beyond that. And I think that's why they give the volunteers a break if there's no identification.
And then, my last thing was I had a couple of questions on, Jerry's report. It says Dave M. Who is Dave M?
I believe that is the head of our water department, most likely.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that was, and then, when on the Columbia, just.
Yeah.
My bigger thoughts will come later, but, they're doing, I'm looking at it from 7 AM to 9 AM and 3 to 5. I think it should go to at least 6 o'clock. I mean, I sit on my porch and the traffic is back all the way up beyond my house. because of the light there, and that's a heavy traffic time. I understand the school part, but I would encourage an additional hour there.
That's helpful.
And the information technology, who's Steve? It just says Steve said. Steve has identified a third-party archiving tool.
Steve is one of the vendors, or is our current vendor that we're departing, but he's helping me. He's
Okay,
helping us with
thank
the
you.
new vendor.
And the fact that you can't respond, just, I'm speechless about that statement. The council gave us information from the very beginning that ended up not to be true. We were told that we could, and you all heard this, but I'm gonna say it again. We were all told, and I was at many of those meetings, and we were all told, no problem, you can express your opinions and share them and your thoughts and ideas, and they will be listened to and maybe taken care of at the planning board. And we get to the planning board and we are told that is not true. They only follow, the job of the planning board is to make sure the law and the ordinance or whatever are followed. So, to then now hear that you are not, I know you can't run, you have to recuse yourself, but that the board now can't speak to any of it. It's a continuation of it may be the law, but it doesn't seem right that a discussion. There are a lot of people who are really upset and don't trust you guys anymore. And this is like a perfect example, because we might have questions that you could answer without imploding anything. So I just need to put that out there, and you guys can't respond to that, so I sort of respect.
Thank
But
you.
thanks for listening.
Hi, my name's Keith Hubby, Bucket Street. I was actually just gonna, two items. One, I was just gonna follow up. When I was here last time, I asked some questions. Mayor Kennedy, you said I didn't need to submit an Oprah request, so I just went ahead and I submitted an email on the 17th of May, and then I didn't get a response. I sent that over to Jerry, and then I followed up on the 29th. And that time that I copied the clerk, Reggie, I haven't heard a response, so I just want to know whether or not it was received, and then how we plan to proceed.
No, I don't
That's
think
two
it is.
different things.
It is not.
That's something else.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I keep that, I, obviously it was an email, apologies.
Yeah.
Well. If anyone has an answer for Keith, or if not, define that and,
Just let me know who to send the follow-up
Yeah.
email request to.
I assume it's on topics that I cannot respond to, but feel free to copy me and I will make sure that, it's attended to.
Correct. Thank you.
Here's my email. Thank you.
And then I was gonna ask a question, I know there was some discussion at the last meeting about the white, it was called the Rutgers study with regard to the 887 ordinance. I guess rather than ask sort of a specific question about my concerns about the reliance upon what actually turned out to be a white paper that was paid for and sponsored by developers and references high density development as opposed to more akin to this. I think I'll just sort of address the global advice that's been given and offer sort of general advice myself, which is also as a practicing attorney that's licensed in the state, you give advice. You don't have to take the advice, and oftentimes it's helpful to question the advice. I understand that elections have consequences, but so do votes. And I think that my concern, which is shared by a lot of people, is what's happened over the last 2 years is that there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of questioning of the people who are providing advice. And that any advice that is provided is given at best what seems to be a cursory review and then rubber stamped. And that's concerning. So apparently decided to take the advice, of council and not gonna answer any questions about 887 or, 891 regarding 457. So, I'll follow up with, my requests, and let you guys get back to it.
Thank you, Keith. And I'll just note, again, with apologies, we should give a response.
Hi, James Siggins, for resident. First, Councilman Paul Luda, thank you for following up on looking at those ordinances you and I had practiced. You had talked about it. It was part of your commitment on your election, and I think that's great. And if I can give any assistance, please let me know. And Councilman Weaver, I think it's wonderful about the Broad Street. And I noticed it when I was driving and I was thinking I was going to go and I realized that there must have been something wrong with the light. But that makes a huge difference. I walk there all the time, so that's wonderful. In reference to my letter that I sent to all of the council members as well as you, Jerry, on May 10th, in reference to the last council meeting, I'd asked a series of questions, and actually, Brian, you had said at the 5:51 minute mark that I wouldn't need to submit an Oprah. And that your desire was to get this information out. That may take some research, but you'll instruct your staff to do so. And then I got an email this morning from Art indicating that I'm gonna have to submit an Oprah. So I'm just wondering what happened, why that changed.
Art, you want
Well, I
to address
think-
that, please?
Yeah, briefly, we examined your email, and it clearly comes under the purview of the Open Public Records Act, and that's the policy we have here in the borough and in all 500 and whatever 60 some municipalities. So we're just being uniform with our requests for information. It's a pretty simple form to fill out, and we will certainly respond to that. I believe you did receive certain information from the borough administrator today to show good faith and trying to provide some information that you requested. And we're just basically following the law. And I think if we do not do that, it's a very slippery slope how we answer requests for information, and it really goes against the statutory construction for each municipality on obtaining information from whatever departments you may have inquiries with.
And I appreciate that, thank you. And when you responded, I see a series of looks to be attorneys from Fraser Drinker that were copied on the email that was sent out.
They're the planning board attorneys.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Yes.
I want to apologize too, to be honest with you. It is always our desire to try to be helpful. In the last month, there has been a lot of discussion.
Yeah.
And to Mr. Hubby's point, it is not everyone's individual decision ultimately. I'm not necessarily saying I disagree, but I do want to say there has been, and particularly you trigger that with the planning board attorneys. There's a lot of thought and attempt on the borough side to figure out I'll say the different or maybe desired path. And I'm choosing my words carefully because this is a particular issue I cannot personally help.
Apology accepted. I get it. I appreciate it. I was surprised you didn't ask me to do it. So
Yeah.
it's that's not the biggest issue. But I do want to make a comment. This town is divided. It's only getting worse with the situation. And I went back and looked at an email I sent to the council on October 10th of 2024. And it's detailed. I mean, I'm not going to go through every item, but it talks about community engagement and transparency. And I talked about traffic safety and zoning and school impact and piloting all before all this went down. And like myself and others, all we asked was you to pass a motion to table voting of any future ordinances on the redevelopment to get community engagement, to have a town hall. And I think if you had done that, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in. And things they're getting worse because of the failure of really engaging the community. And the reason the situation that we're in now and that we're fighting so hard is that there's another piece of property on Broad Street. And we don't want this happening again. And so it's very disappointing. But what's transpired is not on the hands of the community. It's on the hands of you who didn't follow the opportunity to engage this community and collectively get us together and be a part of the conversation of what was being developed. And this is the result.
Thank you.
James.
Excuse me, while I set my 5-minute timer. Good evening, my name is Steve Wood, Front Street. I'd like to address Councilwoman Weaver. I really appreciate the pedestrian on Broad Street. I encountered that the other day, and the first time somebody was pressing the button and the walk, don't walk, had them walk, and they got across the intersection. First time I encountered it, excellent idea. It gives people enough time to get across the intersection before somebody's turning. I really appreciate that. I noticed that the PBSOC, the pedestrian bike and safety, the last time we had a report from that was December of 24. We need to reenact that committee. There are other things besides the traffic on Broad Street that needs to be addressed. I live on Front Street, on the Front Street Greenwood section. There's the wheelchair ramp down Front Street. There's the ADA compliant strip that's been missing for 2 or 3 years. That hasn't been replaced. That needs to be replaced. The sidewalk on the east side of the bridge going over the railroad tracks. There's a question I have with some subsidence of the dirt underneath, because you can see it where it's actually down about 1.5 inches, 2 inches toward the side of the walkway. My concern is that there's water getting in underneath that and the ground is subsiding. And then now, instead of having a smooth transition from the sidewalk to the bridge to the sidewalk, there's about 1 inch gap there. So anybody using a wheelchair is gonna have an issue trying to get over that. Talking about the dark skies, I encountered that several months ago when taking my dogs out at 2 o'clock in the morning. I noticed that PS changed the street light on Greenwood Avenue and Front Street. It felt like there was a spotlight on the side of my house, which comes right into our bedroom. It's annoying, at the very least. That definitely needs to be toned down so we don't have spotlights in our bedrooms. The last thing is, I applaud the council and the borough not going the nuclear option with putting a stop sign at Seminary and doing the engineering survey to see what we have. And so it's kind of like the crawl, walk, run, see what kind of traffic we have there, what the issue is, get that data and then bring it forward and then see where we can go with that. But in talking about that, the other issue that the mayor and I have talked about several times is North Greenwood Avenue. People that live in that area, we call it the North Greenwood Speedway. People coming through town come over the hill, they see the traffic light is red at Broad Street, so what they do, they make a quick left turn to go down Railroad Avenue. Can the borough put a sign up like we've done at 518 and Hart Avenue, where in the morning you can't make a left turn? Because people make that left turn. I go walk my dogs in the morning before I go to work, and people come up, they see the traffic light is red on Broad Street and make a quick left turn, flying down that road, and not doing 25 miles an hour, flying down Railroad Avenue. By putting that sign up there, that's gonna force people to go down to our major thoroughfare and go through, just in the morning hours during rush hour. I invite any of the council members to come to that intersection at the morning before rush hour and see how bad the traffic is. People aren't doing 25 miles an hour, they're doing 40, 45, if not more. And living on Front Street, I've been there for 32 years now. And we know when we come out to make either a left or right turn, you have to listen to hear if traffic's coming over the bridge. Because if you just assume that somebody's not gonna be there, you start coming out. There have been many times where I pulled out of my street and somebody's coming flying over the railroad tracks and giving me the New Jersey high sign because I'm in their way as they're speeding up the road. And once they get over the bridge and they're going out northbound on North Greenwood, they don't do 25 miles an hour. They're flying up the hill. And that's a narrow area. We have students who are walking across the street during school hours going to the bus stop on Hart Avenue. And I'd hate to see something happen. That's why I bring it to your attention, so there is no plausible deniability that we didn't know that this is an issue, which I think is more of an issue than the Seminary and Columbia Avenue. Thank you.
Steve,
Can I respond from
well,
that?
just a couple things first, and then, certainly, again, much appreciated as always, Steve. I'll just ask, we probably got notes on it, but if you could, there's a couple of very specific issues you cited, on sidewalks, intersections. Many of those, we can investigate, have our professionals, look at. So if you wouldn't, I know we have a chain going. We might have enough information to go on, but maybe we could follow up just to see which those are and see which ones, particularly the ones that are, underpinned, or if there's an ADA strip missing. We can make sure that's looked at. Kristen?
I was gonna say, as far as PB tag is concerned, we need volunteers. If you or anyone else would like to volunteer to be on,
Definitely will do it.
reach out to Mayor Kennedy, he makes the appointment.
Yes.
North Greenwood, I also live on North Greenwood. We did do the traffic calming project there. It was originally designed to be more robust, however, that was rejected. So I think if we could do more aggressive traffic calming there, it would make a difference, but it would also slow everyone down. So we need to keep that in mind. But I think that definitely there needs to be something there. We are in very preliminary discussions with the engineers about at least trying to do some striping to narrow the road there and make it appear like it's a more narrow lane. But again, that we need to continue the conversation with our engineers, but we would like to take advantage of the repaving by Elizabethtown for that. And as far as the stop sign, it's not a zero-sum game. It's not, if you get a stop sign on Columbia, you don't do anything on North Greenwood. If we're trying to take a holistic view and make changes where we can that are frankly inexpensive, because that's the easiest way to do it. So we are trying to take the holistic view, but please don't think that there's only so much pie. The pie is infinite, as far as much money as there is, it's not like something goes here and something doesn't go there.
Right. I definitely sign me up for the committee. We get the committee starting, I definitely sign up for it.
Excellent, thank you. Particularly, obviously, your expertise as, as our volunteer OEM coordinator actually could be very helpful in a lot of those discussions. And sometimes there's lots of different stakeholders and things that the community would like to do, and your particular expertise in knowing how, what types of other services need to get where and how they do it is actually super helpful in those kind of discussions. So much thanks.
I am Susan Flower, resident, Hopewell Borough. Actually, I think I'm supposed to give this to you if I want it on the work record submitted and, to see how.
So is there something you'd like to read, I guess?
Oh, well, I'm gonna read it,
Okay.
but I'd like there to be a copy, a formal copy of it. And welcome back, Reggie. I'm glad you're very well. With so many important issues facing Hopewell Borough, I actually cannot believe I need to use my public comment time to address this topic. However, how we treat one another in these meetings, on our streets, and in our online communities matter. The tone set by elected officials influences whether residents feel welcome, respected, and encouraged to participate in civic life. Over many years, I have volunteered extensively in Hopewell Borough. I co-founded Food Truck Fridays and led 2 events a summer with Roxanne Klett for nearly a decade. During the pandemic, then councilperson Ryan Kennedy and I cooked up Hopewell Hour, which was a community initiative that encouraged neighbors to safely connect through social distance driveway gatherings at a time when many people were feeling isolated. At the request of Mayor Anzano, I volunteered on the borough's 125th anniversary celebration committee. I've served on the Board of Education for Hopewell Valley Regional School District and have contributed my time to numerous other community initiatives. Unfortunately, my direct experiences with Council President Deb Stuhler have caused me to step back from volunteering for certain activities. Ms. Stuhler served as the chairperson for the borough's 125th anniversary committee celebration committee, on which I volunteered. During that time, I repeatedly witnessed disrespectful and discouraging treatment of volunteers by Ms. Stuhler. The experience left such a negative impression on me that I made the conscious decision not to volunteer for projects and programs that she led in the future. As a direct result of that experience, when Ms. Stuhler later assumed leadership of the Recreation Committee following Roxanne Kletz's departure, I chose to stop organizing Food Truck Friday rather than continue volunteering under her leadership. I provided all my notes and timelines to Michelle Downey and supported her as she took on leading the event. My concerns are not limited to volunteer committee management. In the fall of 2025, while I was simply walking to the post office, Ms. Stuhler stopped her car in a no parking zone, got out and confronted me on the street. With her hands on her hips, she raised her voice and spoke to me in a manner that was rude, sarcastic, and disrespectful. Just last month, after I spoke at a borough meeting on unrelated issues, Ms. Stuhler then used social media to publicly single me out by name in a post seeking volunteers for the Tot Lot painting project. Rather than broadly recruiting volunteers through borough channels, she publicly called me out directly, asking me to recruit volunteers and then bring them to paint the Tot Lot during normal business hours. In response, I offered to share with her offline ideas and strategies for recruiting volunteers more effectively. Instead, she continued to call me out publicly on social media, insinuating that I am a quote, one and done volunteer and did not accept my offer to discuss volunteer recruitment offline. My reaction is not unique. Following the social media exchange, multiple community members reached out to me privately to express concern about the tone of the interaction and to share their own frustrations with volunteering in borough activities. In addition, at least 2 residents publicly commented on the Facebook thread that the exchange between me and the elected official and a private citizen was inappropriate. Eventually, the entire Facebook post was taken down. Reasonable people can disagree. Healthy communities depend on disagreement. But residents should never feel that speaking at a public meeting or volunteering or expressing a different opinion will result in public criticism, embarrassment, or confrontation from elected officials. Hopewell Borough relies on volunteers. When volunteers feel disrespected and verbally attacked, they stop participating. I know because I am one of them. I hope all elected officials will recommit themselves to treating residents, volunteers, and community members with dignity and respect, even when they disagree. And I've attached the Facebook post from this. So thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I'm gonna ask that we take that information under advisement and look into it. I'm gonna respectfully ask for this evening that we logically timing wise I'm asking that we not have a direct engagement in response to that. I want to thank you for what must have been a challenging thing to put together, speak. I'm going to ask that we absorb that and figure out the best approach. And with respect to Council President Steeler, that was a challenging thing for you to sit through, and I'm not. I apologize to you for asking that we not engage on it this evening. I'm sure there's lots of things I'd like to say. I think it's just for the best of positive.
Who are you apologizing to?
I am asking that we not speak on it, and I suspect, and you've made a lot of statements about someone that you'd like to respond. I'm asking her not to, so that we can look at it and address it constructively. I don't think a direct back and forth with her.
That's fine, and that's why I submitted.
And I very much appreciate that. And
wait, I thought Ryan was apologizing to Deb for not letting her speak. Not
I'm
apologizing to me.
I'm apologizing to everyone in general. I mean, honestly, that was a very challenging thing to do. I'm sorry that you had to do that. Look, we're all volunteers up here. That's it. Yeah.
So you're elected officials who have taken an oath, who are unpaid. I see a big difference in that. Everyone is volunteering their times, yes, but you all are elected officials who have taken an oath. Okay.
I'm not
you're
disagreeing.
not-
I'm not making that distinction so much as
Okay,
I'm
great.
just explaining, I think in the interest of like future
That's
laws.
fine. That's totally fine.
And
I
thank
just wanted it read into the record. I wanted it there. I want you all to be able to have eyes on the post because
Thank you.
it was public and then taken down. Thank you.
Hi, Lori Sabrito, 41 Hart. I just have a couple of questions. I love the new 7 seconds because I walk the kids to school every day and it's great. I don't know if we could do anything, you know, right now you have to press the button in order for it to turn white. Can that just be automatic or no? Okay. Because that would just help a lot of people.
I shook my head as if I really knew. I think the idea though of it is that if you were to just change the cycle, the signal timing to do that all the time when it wasn't needed, that's when there might actually be a chance it would impact the flow of traffic.
It's happening now without the button being pressed. Just this morning with Mimi, you know, she doesn't press the button, she doesn't think the buttons work. And we had our 7 seconds, we started walking and it was still red. And so I mentioned to her about pressing the button. So just so you know, I think it would be helpful I see so many people standing there waiting for that white light sign to come on.
Oh, I see. So I mean, you're saying, not realizing that it's not gonna give them the signal unless they push it? Oh, I see. I understand.
Because before, that button was
Yeah,
pretend, but now.
I think it warrants us, you know, the signage is, when I was looking at it, it's, there's some of the corners have some stickers over even the older signage, and it doesn't explain
Yeah.
the new process. That's great.
It just might be helpful.
Sorry, I thought you meant, never mind. I misunderstood what you said.
Okay. The one button, okay, the one that we use is okay.
Yeah, the one on, Dana.
Okay.
That button, when you put it, it's sort of broken, I don't know what it really.
Oh, you mean like the button
Oh, yeah, the
itself?
button
Yeah,
part,
I know what you're
yeah.
talking about, yeah.
The other thing, there was, I saw a report from the Hopewell Community Alliance about why the planning board should be deferring conversation, and I'm just hoping that all of you read that report too, so. The other thing is, I feel like I'm the only person who talks about seniors, you know, 30 years ago, everything with, housing was, oh, senior housing. And now it's affordable housing. And I didn't know if you do approve this, if they approve this ghastly project, if there's any way we can mandate that a certain amount of the affordable units could be for seniors, or even in general, because that will certainly help the situation we're all worried about with the schools and the taxes. So I don't know, I know that there's still a lot of give and take, so I'm just throwing that out there. You don't have to answer anything. The other thing is, are there any discussions right now about pilot programs with somebody else that we don't all know about? You know, like that ordinance with the pilot agreement came in, it surprised a lot of us. So right now, are there little meetings taking place with, I think?
I mean, there are 3 areas in need of redevelopment in town. There's the one that you mentioned, there's the lumberyard, and then there's the Castoro site.
Right, so-
There's nothing active, and I'll be honest, I wish there were, maybe not on the pilot side, something active, and I don't have anything to announce on, other than, at the lumberyard, I believe they're completing their, finalizing their approval process after the, you know, their post-compliance approval process, and may be ready to do something. And hopefully we'll complete that soon. There is nothing, to say, about Castoro's in a way that, beginning to, choose my words carefully, beginning to frustrate me the lack of, things to talk about there. So no, there.
Okay, and would you commit to letting the community know before you enter a pilot agreement with the new developer for any of these spots? That, you know, like we were saying.
I'll just say as a, you know, a couple of things. It is done by ordinance, so it is, that part of it is, certainly public, and there would be public hearings.
It'd be a public hearing. If it's published, then it's a public hearing. It's not just an automatic thing that happens.
Okay,
There's a process, a statutory process that provides for the public input.
okay. All right, and then the last thing I was just gonna say, Keith sort of mentioned this about council and getting opinions. You know, I'm in healthcare, and second opinions we love second opinions. We love when somebody goes and gets a second opinion. We respect that. And I was sort of taken aback when at the planning board, somebody said, well, these are our experts and we listen to what they have to say. We don't do that in healthcare. We get second opinions. And I think it might be a good idea. It doesn't reflect negatively on anybody. It's just how things are. So I would just encourage that. Thanks.
Good evening, Tom Masters. I have a couple statements to make about the pilot agreement that was entered into with Hopewell 57. I did a little financial analysis on it. And basically, what you agreed to is to take $11.6 million as payments over 30 years with that pilot that could potentially go up to 14 if certain minimums kick in on, you know, on the step up procedures from step 2 to step 5. But what's interesting to know is that the redeveloper is saving roughly $40 to $42 million over the 30 years of that pilot agreement. So that's a huge amount of money out of this pilot. The school gets nothing. They would normally have gotten around $28 million if the normal property tax regime was in place. And the county, I think, would have gotten 10 or 11. But they only get 5% of that 11.6 million that's in the pilot. So they get way less too. And what this will do, this pilot, is burden us, the taxpayer, because the school needs the money. I know there's 20 kids that were projected to live at that Hopewell 57 development. Everybody knows that that's a number that probably is understated. It's probably 40 to 50. That means that $25,000 that the school needs another, per pupil, that the school needs another 1 million to 1.25 per year for those students. That is something that I and everybody else in the Hopewell Valley School District needs to pay for. So this pilot is not a good thing for us, for the taxpayer and the people that live in Hopewell Borough. So it's really interesting last time at the meeting here that yes, we can maybe give some money to the school. Well, I don't think that's going to happen because there is no money. I calculated that roughly under normal property tax regime, you would get roughly 11.6 million over 30 years in municipal tax. That's exactly the amount that you're going to get from pilot. You have to give even 5% of that to county. So now we have only 95% of it. So how can you pay something to the school? There's not even 1 penny for the school coming out of this pilot, and we can certainly not give money out of our municipal, tax that we would normally get via this pilot to give that to the school, because that would hurt projects here in our own community. So it's really interesting that we came up with this $42 million savings for the redeveloper. And that was only possible because of a $300,000 bond that slipped in. Because that way you could lower the pilot payments quite substantially. Normally it would be 10% over revenue, rental revenue. And now you do only 3.21% for the first 15 years. It's a shame what you guys did and that you approved that. Pilots, they are something that you don't have to approve. They're not automatic. And I wish that you guys had reviewed that pilot a little better. In conclusion, I think instead of saving the developer 42 million, I think we should have charged roughly 30 to 33 million in pilot money. That would give that developer $20 million in savings versus the normal property tax of 53 over 30 years. 20 million, that's quite a bit. I guess, who came up with this pilot? Was it something that the developer put on the table and said, I think this is a good idea, please vote for it? I don't even know if there was a process to review this pilot. Yeah, so that's the questions I have. Was there a process in place? Was there a number determined? When was that done? You did that in 8 weeks between October and December of last year. I don't think anybody of the community was involved in it. It just passed, and now we have to live with it. It's a shame. Thank you. And I want this, you can introduce this for the record. It's the financial analysis, and I'm more than happy for all of you. I can sit down with you and I'll take you through it. How I came up with the calculations so that you have for next pilot program that you want to enter into, you can take the learning from that and maybe come up with better pilots. Thank you.
All right. But I can't, unfortunately.
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you. Anyone in person? I don't see any raised hands, but please push the raised hand button on the Zoom so we can see you and carry you over.
Hi, I'm June Schwenk. I had a follow-up to Steve Webb's question for the EMS. Related to the process for coming up with the suggestion of the four-way stop. Several people, including Steve, had talked about speeding in Hopewell, not just on Columbia, but on North Greenwood and Broad Street. So you just mentioned that you're doing some measurement of speeds on Columbia, and that also be taken on the other streets. So that we can assess the problem in its entirety and not just look at these little views of things.
So the short answer is yes, semi-regularly. We do have speed studies done. They are always on a specific area. It's physical equipment that is done on a street over a period. What actually is going to be done on Columbia is not going to be a speed study. The major focus is on queuing at the concern that the engineers are currently addressing for council to understand is whether it's going to cause a backup that's going to interfere with emergency services. So it's actually a slightly different type of study. But message received, there are resources, and from time to time, either we ask it informally to be done by the police department across town, or some of our partner organizations have equipment that we use and get data. So it is fairly regularly done. I don't know of a way, maybe Krista does, or anyone, if there's a way to do it town-wide. I mean, it is a function of having a piece of equipment on a particular road, and we do kind of grab that equipment whenever it's available from our partners to do and collect the data.
It seems like a good idea to do the public safety committee so that they can collect information, and it's just, kind of best practice really to really define the problem, which is to look at it, the whole problem, and then, explore solutions before deciding on one specific solution. And also, taking in all the stakeholder, perspectives before picking one. Like at the meeting last month, the EMS had expressed extreme concern about the stop sign, that it would impede the traffic, their trucks coming in and out of the firehouse. So it does not seem, from just like the cursory view, like you need to rush into putting up stop signs when, you know, observation hasn't been done. So observing the speed on Columbia and other roads, did the council or committee who came up with this, do you know if there have been any speeding tickets issued on that road, or what the numbers are for speeding tickets in Hopewell Borough?
I don't know if any of us know that offhand. That this four-way stop on Columbia came as a citizen petition. So I think you're describing our council and borough trying to be responsive to a request and a problem that was identified that way. And the last month's meeting was interesting in many regards, but we have been in the process of working with the fire and EMS before and after that. So ultimately, you know, I certainly agree. Council does, and this is what we're doing here this evening. Not being rushed into where we're gonna have, and we had an initial engineering recommendation about it, and there's gonna be an actual physical study to make sure that it works and it's not gonna have those negative impacts. I personally am very hopeful that the study is gonna be successful and, you know, show that it works and not be a
In
problem.
1 month's time, without collecting any data about the actual speed, whether there's been any speeding tickets issued or whether there's any police presence there. I mean, it's like you're looking at one, you know, complaint and one possible remedy, which the firehouse expressed concern with, and they said that they were not consulted about this issue. They're very interested in safety, and they weren't consulted about, you know, the concern that you have or coming up with a solution. So it is rushed.
No, we're not taking action on it tonight, and we're continuing to work on it. I'll let the fire department speak for themselves, but ultimately, before, I mean, I'll just say specifically, particularly because we was not, administrator, and myself, met and had lunch with the chief before introduction, started the dialogue. They certainly knew, that we were exploring this and that it was not gonna just happen without, input. We've had many meetings with them, with our engineers, and continue to do so. So they're very valued stakeholders with an important, understanding of that street, and they continue to be consulted, and while we wait for those things to happen is why it's, gonna be continued from tonight with the committee.
So is the bottom line that the community would have to petition to request for there to be speed measurement on the various through streets that have a speeding problem? For, in order for you to understand that it needs to be measured?
I'm not sure how to respond to that. I think it's a good idea to, measure speed and do tests with our engineers. Is a petition needed to do that? We get requests and I'll say complaints kind of all the time. We have a combination of actions that we do with our engineer and the police department between targeted enforcement for a period of time. Doesn't tend to do much, but our Hopewell Township Police Department is responsive on specific things that you've observed or any citizen observed. The recommendation is always let the reach out to our administrator, because there often are things in the short term that we can do, and then we collect that data and have a file on it essentially, so that when it comes time to have those, apologies online people, you're now just looking right at me and our camera shut off. Could someone cycle the power on the L? It seems to have shut itself off. That data is very helpful to our professionals in how to do that, and we're doing it regularly. So what I often say to people is, if there are hotspot areas of concern that you have, let us know. The file gets built on it, and they get added to a list of things that we can study and look for solutions on. If you have a specific solution as well, you can suggest that too. This was fairly unique that it was both.
And also
has there been targeted, enforcement requested on Columbia that you just mentioned that you often request?
I don't know the answer to that. In talking with the fire department, I think the answer is yes, but I'll say that the police chief is always very responsive when we ask. I don't know that we have, if they sort their data by, and we get reports of, tickets and summons. It'd be interesting to see if we can ask for it on a street by street basis. That's a good idea.
An advisory committee cannot collect speed for their recommendations, but we don't have access to the equipment ourselves to do it. We would need to either work with the GMTMA or the local police department to use their equipment to measure the speeds.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and having the public safety committee would outline those things and.
I'm just saying that they don't have the equipment to actually measure it. They can use it and interpret it and make recommendations with it.
So both, the answer is, I think
data.
we're agreeing with,
Yeah.
with both of those things, with the continued commitment. Honestly, it's a thing that perhaps we can put more resources to going forward physically, dollar wise, that we maybe have, limited ourselves to borrowing or, when things that aren't ours were available. Maybe that's something we don't have to think about or do as much anymore. But I agree on both accounts.
Well, you have volunteers, Mr. Webb just volunteered, and you have other people who are willing to help out and have expertise and can ensure that there's a process for collecting data and understanding the situation before coming up with a solution. Similar to what Tom had stated with the pilot, like understand what's being presented before passing it, right?
And if anyone wants to volunteer, please, again, Mayor Kennedy makes the appointment.
Yeah, but Steve reached out this week and we had a conversation
Reach
about
out.
it. So please, and same goes with any interest in volunteering. This is a committee that, hasn't functioned in a while and we're interested in changing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll ask for the online folks if we're seeing it again to push that button. Not seeing any, I'll take a motion to close the first of a couple of public comment sections here in our meeting. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item of business, I believe, is item 10 or May minutes from our packet. I'll take a motion. Does anyone has any comment or question? Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Rich.
Mr. Buda?
Yes.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Ms. Steeler? Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Okay, we do have a continuation of the public hearing on ordinance 915. I'm gonna make sure I do this correctly procedurally with our attorney. The intent here is to continue the public hearing and public comment. And then I will seek a motion not to adopt, but to continue the hearing to a future meeting so that the public hearing could continue, at which point, hopefully in the interim, council will be educated with some additional engineering information.
Correct.
That, anyone in person?
Do you want me to read it?
Apologies, I'm still getting used to the new format here. So yes, if you could read by title.
Ordinance 915, amending chapter 7A, traffic schedules, schedule 7, stop intersections of the code of the borough of Hopewell to establish always stop control at the intersection of Columbia Avenue and Seminary Avenue.
So now I will reopen or announce the continuing open status of, because it has been carried from our prior meeting. If anyone would like to make a comment on this ordinance or issue, to do so, come on up or push the button on the online.
Oh, push a fake button and I'll speak. The Columbia Avenue, I am a sort of resident of the Columbia Avenue. My house is on Broad Street, but my driveway is on Columbia Avenue. One of the biggest issues living on Columbia Avenue is it is a cut through. It's always going to be a cut through. People are always avoiding the light and that's it. One side has parking, and I would say every day you have to stop and let another car go through in order to there's not enough room for all the cars, and then you add the trucks to it. And it said that residents started a petition, so this is my question. I can start a petition and you're gonna write an ordinance? That's what it feels, that's the impression I got. It was like, okay, well, some people, like how many people? Is there a process, like, okay, a group of citizens get together, they create a petition? Do you need 20 signatures? Can you get 5 signatures? And to get it to the point where there is already this thing saying that it's gonna be a 4-way stop. So that's one question. Now,
So, I mean, I think there's 2 answers to that.
okay,
Some form of government that are different, this is a technical thing that hopefully our attorney is up on and knows better than I, but I believe that, the borough form of government technically does not have initiative by petition. Some types of government do, where there is a number of things and actually would just come and have to be acted upon. Do I have that right?
I believe that's accurate, yes.
In this case, residents chose that as the method to do it. And just like an email to one of us or coming to a meeting can trigger action, that one, which had, I don't know how many people behind it, but it was just a different way. And I understand though formally, it's just another way of asking council to look at something, just like you could be doing tonight or by email. Other forms of government, possibly, and that's why it's a little confusing, I think, to deal with it that way, do have a formal petition method that just the borough form does not have, is my understanding.
That's correct.
so to just bear with me because I want to get my words correct. Any group of citizens can petition and say, we think that Greenwood Avenue should be shut down at Mall. Like, that should be ended. And how did it get from a petition to an ordinance being presented? Who decided it was worthy? Was it just because of the number of people? And if so, how many people were on the petition? I wasn't asked to sign the petition. But I might not have been home when they were doing that. I don't know how they got signatures. So I don't understand how it gets from, here's a petition and now we're looking at an ordinance for a 4-way stop because these people said that's what they want.
Again, I'll just say again, just if there's, like any other request, we look at it and are trying to be responsible.
And create an ordinance for it? And really?
Yeah.
Because I have some great ideas, like, let's make some streets 1-way. So if I get a bunch of people on Columbia Avenue to say, we want it to be 1-way, you're gonna create an ordinance that says that?
So this one in particular met some of the criteria that both our engineers and the prior studies.
So
had
it
looked
went
at.
to the end, so the process then is, a petition came, and then you reached out to the engineers?
So when anyone has any idea, honestly, we think about it. Groups of us with subject matter committees talk about it. We talk to our administrator first. We see what type of input would be helpful in seeing whether it's a good idea, what type of resources are available to do it, what the order of magnitude costs would be, and who from our professional team should have input on it, what stakeholders we should reach out to.
Have you gotten other petitions that you just don't move forward on?
I've honestly never seen a petition before in my life, to
We
be
gotta
totally.
change that, I'm getting you petitions.
Okay.
I'm not sure what they're gonna be about, baby, but you're gonna get them.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, it's, I would say on this particular issue, it is a very unique combination of, I personally think, an idea that doesn't cost a lot of money and likely is to be very effective. Once the, engineers kind of give us the confidence to do that. Many great ideas are expensive or hard to do. This was a very unique situation where the thing you asked for might have been.
There were previous recommendations for traffic calming measures there from PBSAC and the JMTMA school improvement plan. So that was included in the petition because we already had these recommendations for that there.
That makes sense.
I think a lot of considerations put in like proximity to the school as well makes a difference as far as implementing traffic calming in an area like that. So
one of my concerns with it is, when 57 is built and we have 180 or 200 cars or however many cars, Seminary is a cut through. You go down Hamilton, you make your right, and then you make your left onto Seminary. That is going to increase traffic even more. I don't know what the answer to that is, but it is a concern in a four-way stop, it will get backed up if that's the case, if people are coming down there. I mean, rarely does do the backup to Princeton Avenue come as far as my house. That's rare.
Mm.
On Broad Street, it's all the time, but on Columbia, it's not. But it is a constant. I mean, it is, you know, we all, you know, Lafayette has Speedway, we have this, that's just the nature of the town. We can't not have that. But I just am concerned that four-way stop might not be the best thing. And in the ordinance, I don't understand why it's mentioning the Hopewell Valley YMCA.
It's after school
I think
program.
that came from one of the reports, what the Safe Routes to School report, that the YMCA happens to run the aftercare
Oh, they
at
do?
the elementary school. It was a
Okay.
uniquely specific thing for them to have said, but that came from one of those background reports.
They
of the
wouldn't
Safe
let
Routes
me
School.
come into the YMCA because I don't need aftercare. Need before care. So I'm just concerned, and I'm glad that you're not closing it down
Yeah,
tonight
no.
and opening, because I do think, I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I do have some ideas that you and I had talked about earlier, a couple of years ago, about how some towns, they'll have artists paint those strips. And since these are our streets, so we, in theory, could do whatever we want. I think that would be great. Get the kids involved, and get people involved to do that and, create, a real visual impact, especially when it's something that's gonna be so new, because kids are gonna trust those stop signs, you know they do, and that's not always true.
So continue to love that idea. We, from time to time, there's a grant available from, I believe, the Bloomberg Foundation that we have tried a few times.
Well, we have the Hopewell Valley Arts Council,
And have.
they're right there now, so,
No, and involve them in those discussions as well. So
but I think that.
again, message received, that's a neat idea. And just to, again, let's just to clarify, because it's helpful for us to pass this on as the study's being done. The concern, I think that, as I'm hearing it, is there is queuing and backup already, right? And so in fact, it sent to this aspect. So the specific study that they're doing is with like cameras and counting, I guess, to see what the queuing looks like. And just lastly, so I understand, you observe it eastbound going towards Princeton? Like if people back up from Princeton, like on Columbia.
On Columbia Avenue, they're making a right or left onto
Onto
Princeton
Princeton.
Avenue from
Got it.
Columbia. And it backs up like 5, maybe 6 cars.
Got
But usually it's, you know, and then there's a truck, so nobody can go anywhere, but it is, you know, they
Yes,
speed
okay.
on it. And I only know one time when, this was years ago, we asked for some police coverage and stuff like that. And, you know, as soon as they see a police car, they slow down, let them, the police cars are going, and, you know, that's
No,
traffic.
I mean, a different part of the street, but that possibility is the issue identified by emergency services and why we're,
Right.
you know.
And I
so
would,
sensitive
I
to
would
that stuff.
think that if emergency services thinks it's a bad idea, we should really respect that. If that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a comment, somebody on the internet talking about these issues, mentioned a town in England where the people got so frustrated with their government that they took it in their own hands about calming effects, and they literally, it became like this thing where they set up couches. I'm not saying we should do this here, but they basically reduced the street width. Kids got involved, they made sculptures, and it became this thing where then people started to slow down in the community and really enjoy the community. And it was all done in a peaceful, kind of fun, artistic way. And people enjoyed, I mean, I call that Krista in terms of the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit change, which at first I thought, like, oh, that's just too slow. I mean, it just feels like so slow. And then all of a sudden, one day I was coming in and I said, this is like coming in from an airplane, like you know, when the airplane starts slowing down, you're looking at landing. And I said, I'm coming into Hopewell Borough. And then all of a sudden, like I'm seeing more of the borough. And I'm seeing, waving to people, and so I'm going slower. And then, you know, that has results in maybe people will stop and say, you know what, I need to stop at the Borough Bean or Chevy's or whatever to have, you know. So it has these effects of just slowing people down.
And also, we have traffic counts from earlier this year in March, where that intersection that show that the traffic line that goes through there would like very, very unlikely lead to any sort of backup if there was a stop sign put there.
And another thing, just about slowing down even the process, I was happy that we slowed it down and as council people to the, you know, we all go on the street, you know, coming back to the pharmacy or whatever, but I paid particular attention. And I said, oh my gosh, I always knew there wasn't parking on the left side when I'm leaving, right? But even by Sherry's house, there's not parking in front of her house for a certain distance. And I didn't know that when the discussions were happening. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, just back up and have the trucks get around and having more of a physical, and I think we need to have more maps. And really, when we talk about these things, they're very graphic. They're very like, well, oh, how much feet is that? Oh, how many cars is that? What is backup? So because you know, it's like anything in a court trial, you say, oh, well, I'm totally convinced. Then somebody comes up and says, no, wait a minute. It's really 5 cars can fit there, not 2. Well, that may change somebody's opinion. So.
Hi, I'm Jean Schwenk. I was wondering, since the public comment opened for the ordinance 915, the comments that Steve and I made earlier related to how, you know, a process for forming a committee, gathering information about the speed on the road. Are those part of the comment, or do we need to make those again?
They're part of the record from the prior meeting. You're indicating comments were made at the prior.
No, earlier tonight.
Oh, tonight, yeah, well, they're obviously part of the record.
Oh, you said this is the public comment for this ordinance though, and we made the.
Are you asking if you want to repeat your comments or if it's necessary? Is that the
Is
question?
it necessary?
Or is it necessary for her to repeat the comments you made earlier? Can we
No.
take notice that we heard them and they're part of this?
Yeah, they're part of the official record.
Okay,
I
so
don't,
that's,
I don't verbatim say what the public says. I say they spoke on this topic and that topic. I don't quote people, so.
so how should we submit, should we submit our comments now then related to, I think Mr. Webb has already gone. So there's no record of the comments that were submitted related to the 4-way stop ordinance.
Do you understand the question? I don't.
Yeah.
Are they're being recorded and will be part of the minutes of this meeting in a way that tends to be fairly generalized. That's just how they
Reggie
work.
just said she writes who spoke,
Correct.
not what they asked for.
I said.
That's just how minutes work. Yeah, that's right.
Right. So is there no, our comments, are they registered into the request to the council for the 4-way stop?
Well, they're heard by the
Yes.
council, yes. They're certainly
Okay.
heard by the council and considered.
How do we request a copy of the petition that the council is responding to?
File an Oprah request.
Okay, so an Oprah request for the petition. Can you also request the targeted police monitoring of the road if you think it's a problem there?
Sure.
Yeah.
You absolutely, make another request to the police department to target that street. I don't see why we couldn't ask them.
It seems like so much easier than putting up a 4-way stop.
Well, I mean,
It's not easier than putting up a 4-way stop though, because an officer would have to be stationed there all the time, but a stop sign is permanently, well, not permanently, but it's there all the time.
But let's see if they stop anybody for speeding, you know,
So
that
just
could have
because
been
tickets aren't
happening.
being administered does not mean that there's not speeding there.
Well, I mean, if there's a problem with speeding, they should be able to issue some tickets, I would think.
I'm just confused because you seem to be concerned about speeding in town, but not in this particular.
You would confirm it. In any problem solving process, you would gather information about what the speed is there and confirm that there's a problem with speeding.
understood. I think that maybe the disconnect here is, one, an agreement that yes, gathering data is, always good and we will continue to do that. Targeted enforcement tends to be for speed data, false negatives. It is us asking the town, or the police department to be there and have their presence slow people down. So again, in our discussion with the fire department, they'd like to see more of that. And I think we'd always would in places, but it doesn't give you data about speed. It puts someone there and it tends to slow people down when people see the police officer
I think it's also, we already pay for it with our property tax. For the 700,000 for leasing, so if this seems to be a problem that, residents petitioned about, I will request it with the Oprah request, and who do I address that to? Okay,
Register.
and then, will you be posting the request for volunteers for the public safety committee?
We can we can look at how to do that. I mean, I think we're kind of in a, I'd say, holding pattern with like the new website gonna be coming along soon, so I know the exact timing on it, but I think a post to reminding people that we have volunteer opportunities and how to ask about them is a good idea.
Weekly email?
Yeah.
Sorry, in the weekly email?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm
That's
sure
a
you
good idea.
have residents in town who have expertise and interest in, the process and, our stakeholders.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Alessio Washington. I came to speak in favor of the ordinance. I think we need to look at this a little bit more broadly. And we need to think about it, how to address making our town more livable. It's really not just about speeding. It's about regaining control of our town from the automobile. And I think part of the solution here needs to figure out what is more important to people in town. I used to run a lot, and I would run in that area, and I would always be very careful going through that. But that doesn't always, solve the problem going through. We also can't necessarily rely upon enforcement. I think it's really a fallacy to think that the police are going to solve our problems. We need to take control of where we are. This town was built, established in 1703, incorporated in 1881. They got it right. The houses are built right up to a certain line to the street, sidewalks put in place. People understand how to navigate this long before the automobile. I think we need to think more about this holistically and to think about it well beyond just that intersection. I also want to refer you to the fact that in the 21st century, we're seeing more and more four-way stop signs. I was just in the Navy Yard in DC, and almost every neighborhood has four-way stop signs going through. And it is one of the most livable neighborhoods in the country. Housing prices are exorbitant there. Everybody wants to be there. People are walking around, they're engaging. We need to remind folks that that's what our town's all about. I also want to suggest that this is one situation, but there are others that we've heard about before. And to me, as a planner, solution is to do a circulation element on a master plan and to use the resources that we have to engage the public and bring folks into the conversation and to do it right. And to hire people that actually know circulation and can do this. And to encourage the public and others to be involved, to do things that may be a bit unconventional, but make us a better town to be in going through that. The Bloomberg Foundation has been sponsoring some incredibly impactful tactical urbanism implications and projects going through that. We could easily do that here in town. And I volunteered with the first person to help stripe the street. Paint it up, put some, sculptures in and other ways that make it more livable. I think, again, we should start thinking about, and this may be the best way to address the concerns, a lot of the concerns that I'm hearing. I just have to tell you, as a former councilman, I'm very distressed with what I was hearing tonight. I feel the pain of the council members. I feel the pain of the public going through that. That's not who we are. And I really hope the press, when they're covering tonight, we'll talk a little bit about what happened at 6 p.m. rather than what happens at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. The fact that at 6 p.m. we actually have people coming out celebrating our unique qualities and our unity and diversity, and that we can find solutions, and that individuals stood up and actually made a difference. I think we can get back to that, and we can do that again. And I encourage you again to think about these things. But again, back on the ordinance, let's do a little bit of the analysis, find out where we are. But to me, the answer is not just on speed. The answer is reclaiming that neighborhood for people who are going through in every neighborhood in town, and making sure that whatever we do makes it a place that people want to be in, and to encourage people to come, not discourage them. Thank you.
Tom, I'm sorry, I have a quick trivia question for you.
Sure.
So I read that allowing right-hand turns during red lights was like a relic of the gas crisis from the 70s. Have you
That's
heard that?
when it took some major hold, yes.
Do you think that like not having four-way stops and increase of that now is like a relic of that as well? Like not having less four-way stops is part of that too?
I'm reflexive of my bias. I think we need more people engineering rather than science engineering. And I think we've allowed federal and state standards to take over common sense where we are in our communities. And so my sense of it is that we have the ability, you do control streets that are not county or state. And so I would encourage you to do that. When I was on council in the late 90s, we did enact those no left turns onto Broad Street, onto Hart model. And it was during rush hour. And you may want to think about something like that too for this situation. You may also want to think of it about working with the EMS and the fire to strike certain parts of the street where you don't want cars backed up. It happens various places. And that could be a really interesting art project as well as a safety project. So thinking about ways to address these, I want to second what Councilman Buda said about bringing maps and graphics. People understand that rather than reading an ordinance. And I'm sorry, and then last but not least, the whole discussion about not having planning board meetings because there's nothing on the agenda for a site plan. I would encourage you, if that's the case, don't call them planning board meetings. If it's site plan review, call it site plan review. If you want to do development review, call it development review. If you really want to do planning board meetings, let's get back to the idea we actually have planning going on. And this would be a perfect question to ask the planning board to bring conversations in. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to second that. Our town we're always in progress, right? We're always trying to make it better, right? That's why we're all here. And I know it's application based and I know we pay our professionals. Maybe the professionals don't have to show up if there's not an application. But the town, to Melissa's point even, she's got a concern. She doesn't want to, next month she might be away on a business trip or something. It's important, I think, to have those meetings regularly.
I think we're straight, so far from the public hearing on this particular ordinance.
Yeah, well,
The circle us back though, I think that the thing we can all agree on, particularly from that last point, and this would be something that like would be by statute tasked with if we explored a circulation element, for example, or there are, listen to your point, there are the list of things that they're supposed to do is broad, but they're not necessarily triggered by them. We can trigger one of them, and they'll be there every month working on a circulation plan, for example. So that's, not to be technical, it's probably, the approach that I think everyone's thinking about. But, let's find these community-based planning projects that happen that would be once started in their purview, and look at it. Thanks. Looking online and not seeing any hand raised push buttons. I'm going to ask for a motion and some assistance on this motion because we're not. My request is, I suppose, seeking a motion to carry the public hearing to the July meeting with no further notice. Is that the appropriate?
Yeah, without any further notice. That's correct.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion for that. I can't make a motion.
I cannot. I'll make a motion.
Right. Well, that's a second. Okay. This is a roll call item?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Buda?
Yes.
Ms. Hook?
I'm still abstaining.
You're abstaining, okay.
I don't know if I abstain on all of it.
Might as well.
Well, you've indicated abstentions in the past.
Sorry.
Like you have to be.
Consistent. I'm asking because I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Steeler?
Yes.
Ms. Weaver?
No.
So two votes yes and one no. Agree?
Motion carries.
All right, our next item is item 13. We have, can't count letters, I think 6 resolutions in our consent agenda, including renewals of our 2 liquor license, a grant that our administrator just talked about earlier, and some items with our outside professionals involving paying off our debt with the water sale, and then green communities grant. I believe the application, we haven't gotten this one yet. Jerry, this is to ask for it or to apply?
For which one, sorry?
The green communities?
No, we actually have
We
that.
received it, okay, this is to accept. With that, unless there's any questions or anyone wants to pull out a particular item, I'll take a motion to approve resolutions 2026-60 through 65. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Buda?
Yes.
Ms. Hook?
Ms. Hook?
Yes. Ms. Fielder?
Yeah.
Ms. Weaver?
Next item, claims for payment, our bill list. I'll take a motion to pay this month's bills. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right.
Mr. Buda?
Yes.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Ms. Sealer? Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
All right, next we have our final public comment opportunity, similar to our prior rules, but we'll try to keep this one to 3 minutes. Open up the floor for public comment, both in person and online. Remember to push the raised hand button if you're so inclined.
So I have so many questions because I've missed the past 2 meetings and I'm going to miss the next one. Have term limits ever been considered for council?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if statutorily it's permitted.
It's not permitted by law,
Right, so probably not.
by state law.
State law says you can't have term limits?
Correct. The municipal law.
Well, that's silly.
Address the legislature on that.
So I don't think it's something I recall having talked about, but I think with the idea that we.
Okay, so there's, okay. Well,
They would have no authority to do that.
who would?
Council.
It'd be like us trying to change the election laws.
It has to come from the legislature.
We can try. We're trying first to change the lights on the streets.
Okay.
We can do that
One
either
thing at a
third time, but
time,
yeah,
right?
you know, we have to keep realistic aspirations, but
Okay,
it's a long list of things we cannot do.
okay, thank you.
Not seeing anyone else in person or any raise hand button people online. I'll take a motion to close the second public comment section. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, take a motion to adjourn our meeting. Do I have a second? All in favor? All right, thank you, everyone.